You're in here.
We're waiting for you. It'll be Christmas tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nice, got the spirit.
Yeah,
Well, John's not coming.
What's that?
I think this fall weather kind of throws you off the mark as far as the holidays.
So true.
You know, it just seems like a rainy Halloween night right now, you know what I mean?
Um,
It is weird. Seems fine.
Okay, 4 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Principal purpose of the meeting is for organization for what's gonna happen when our contract runs out with CETA.
To be discussed through executive session. In the meantime, we have some representatives from Cuba Milk Ingredients. I believe Andy wanted to provide an overview for the proposed water line and everything else.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of questions about what the requirements are. Is there adequate water provided by Aurelius now? What would the need be? Do we have some documentation for all that?
We've sent that to you.
Yeah, and actually, I had the original flow rates copies that I've gotten, I think from you, Brian, showing that the town could supply 1,160 gallons per minute of water. And also I've gotten an email that was sent through channels showing that the milk plant on an average moment during production would use 700 gallons a minute. And during a maximum flow, which you guys can speak to a little bit more, the flow could be up to 2,200 gallons per minute. And I think the question is you look at this a little bit more openly, there's other issues. At 700 gallons a minute, that would leave the town with about 400 to 500 gallons per minute of excess flow. But there is some discussion about Decavit expanding. And there's also some rumors out there that the milk plant may also expand. So at some point, that line into the industrial park is gonna be barely adequate. And then there's the other issues when the line is being used that fully, what it does to the rest of the Aurelius system. I went to the Aurelius board and I'm not totally convinced they've researched this. Jerry Scouten, their chairman of their planning board, and he's been there a long time, been very active for a long time. He brought up the question that they really should have had their engineers study this, and these questions should have been answered. But irregardless,
We should have.
no, the town should have. But to that, and speaking of the Aurelius board, the Cuba County Water and Sewer Authority was pretty much adamantly told by the Aurelius Town Board that there is not a path forward for the water authority to supply to supply water to Cuba Milk Ingredients or the industrial park. So it's become an obligation of the Industrial Development Authority to resolve this issue. The water authority does not have a path forward. Right, and when you guys originally talked to Aurelius, they weren't interested or?
Have you had a conversation with them? My understanding is that Cuba Milk Ingredients signed a secret agreement with the town that said that you were satisfied with the amount of flow that the water would provide from Aurelius.
Well, in order to do the seeker thing, we had to say there was adequate flow or else we wouldn't have got the building permit.
Right, but they take that, it's saying that they couldn't
And we
supply
said-
you the ample water.
Yeah, it was, as long as we don't have a peak problem. We didn't get into all those details because I wasn't gonna try and screw up the permit for the most part. If there are peaks, and these are always models that you say. If one plant has a high demand at the exact same time the other plant has a high demand. More likely, we're gonna have to 500,000 gallon tank.
I think the biggest issue of what we're really talking about is the fact of. At the time that we put the SECO application in, we were asked, does the water that is potentially going to be supplied going to be sufficient for what you guys are planning on doing under this permit? To which we answered yes, but that was before we were aware that they were developing other things, potentially lowering that amount, potentially doing all sorts of things that would potentially reduce that amount. And the more that we have learned over the last 6 months or so, is the more we determined that we don't even have, it is unlikely that we will have the actual water that we're currently getting right now. I think that's the biggest.
And we absolutely can't expand more than what we have now, or we'll never get the amount of water that we need, because then the peaks will be quite more frequently. So
And that's the other side.
we are looking at some expansions.
Yeah.
Can't get into all the reasons what we're looking at, but how we'd like to build the same building twice.
And have you
Maybe
sat down with
third.
the town to discuss this?
I haven't sat down and talked about that. I talked to him about the project we're working on right now. Did talk to him like my first month on the job. Went to a board meeting and we talked about the rates changing. And we went there, it might have been the second month, I think it was in December I went. And you there? Can't remember. Anyway, Ed was there, somebody by the name of Ed, I can't remember his last name. And he pretty much said, you guys had a pilot program. You started in 2012, you knew in 10 years you were gonna be up. You knew this rate increase was gonna come. So we were asking about the rate increases. So I just got this letter when I got there. They're doubling and then tripling the rates from where they were. And he said, you were fully aware of that. And I said, okay, what can we do about it? And for the most part, it was like, this is what the rate is, and we have to charge everybody. And we asked if there's commercial rates, we asked if there's anything for industrial businesses. Now we charge everybody the same. Okay, and then there was somebody that was sitting next to Ed who said, look, if you want to just go figure out another way of getting water, go to the town or city of Auburn if you want to, and go direct and get it straight from them. Good luck with that, I think is what he said. And so we kind of looked at each other and said, okay, well, I guess we'll look around. And that was kind of like, and then we heard about a boat 3 or 4 months later. I think you're the one that told me there was a boat, or it was sometime this summer where they turned us down 5-0 for another option for water. They never talked to us about it. They just voted it down as another option into there. But the one time I talked to them, they basically said, you knew the rates, but they said, if you want to try and get your own source, or maybe you can figure out how to build a big well yourself, go ahead and do it. I'm trying to remember the guy's name that was sitting next to Ed, but he was one of their board members. And this is the town of Aurelius, not the zoning board.
Right.
That guy from Cuba,
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Ed, I
No, the one of the board members is from Cuba.
is he? He was a
Funny name,
one
I
that
can't
was,
remember his name.
he seemed knowledgeable, like of all the utilities and different things. Cause he just said, you know, maybe that's what you should do. And actually Ed said, yeah, that's probably what you should do. If I was you, that's what I would do. So that was the only time we talked.
Yeah, and I think that's what he said back to you.
I think that's when we met with you afterwards, was after that meeting sometime.
Yeah.
We hadn't done the studies of, let's just say, whether they could even flow. That started as we were changing the building at the time.
Yeah.
I'd come to the conclusion that the original building and the system that we were putting in wasn't gonna work. So that's when we hired Structura. Structura started looking at it, and we started changing the whole design, which changed the demands. So
So
that happened after I met with them.
can Aurelius provide sufficient water for the existing plant,
Yes,
but not the expansion?
not if they both peak at the exact same time. We're probably gonna have to add a bunch of infrastructure. That's what it looks like, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that we could have gotten by. The other issue is that secret application is also based on 4 fillers versus 9. So that's another issue that those potential peaks and those potential average flows have probably gone up since that secret application was made.
When do we apply for that secret? Because
That was June. It was May reviewed, initial review was during the June, planning board.
Yeah, because it was right after that we changed to more fillers because the other filler we're trying to get out of.
Yeah, and I think like we've been talking about compromise.
And we're not trying to tell the town what our plans are because we know we have other people that are going in there trying to find out what our plans are so they can try to circumvent us in the marketplace.
Yeah.
They're doing that now.
No, like with the work with CETA, it's all very secretive and rightfully so, because you can't broadcast your marketing plans. The business plans, right?
They're trying to get them to,
Well,
they're calling all lawyers, they're calling everybody, they're calling these guys, trying to find out exactly what we're doing.
yeah,
So if we can provide all that information, then all it does is just blow up our opportunities in the marketplace. Customers we're talking to.
and I thought the reasonable compromise would be to leave the old plant on the Aurelius water and then just put the new plant on any expansion. That way Aurelius remains whole.
Yeah, no, they're not doing it now.
And I kind of spoke to that the other night and there really wasn't too much interest in that compromise. The feeling I got from the Aurelius board was not much interest in a compromise. I think the concern is, right now, there's no potential growth in the industrial park with limited water supply. For any business.
Well, now that we're looking at potentially expanding again, we're gonna have to go back to them with a new permit to try to expand the building, which all this will come out when we have to go talk to them about that, because then we have to meet it. All right. And the fact that we're adding more fillers from where we were when we first applied to. Because that just creates more demand, which creates more washes, which creates more water demand. And we're gonna need a bigger wastewater system. But I mean, all these things aren't what you do when you first go in there and it evolved from one thing to the next to the next. And so did we go in there with every step of the way? If we did, then Burn Dairy would be out there trying to make sure we don't have a customer. That's what would happen. That's probably important, so don't probably listen right now.
Yeah. So what do we want to do?
Hey, we burned up at that site way back.
Did they?
Yeah. Yeah, they went and built next to you. But they were jerking us around, so they did get a better deal on carbon.
Oh, really?
On carbon.
Is that what happened?
I'm just bringing these things up. I'm getting two separate conversations. One from the town and then one from Carl and these guys. So. I don't wanna win a battle and lose the war with the town, which. You're gonna have to eat out of that dish again with the town.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm not being adversarial. I'm just trying to,
No, that's why we don't really want to ruffle any feathers either. We're just trying
Yeah.
to figure out how to build and
Yeah.
grow our business.
I'm not adversarial. I'm just saying.
But
The one conversation I get is you sign an agreement with the seeker that says the town has adequate supply for you. And then on the other side, you come here and you say they can't supply. And this is, I'm gonna have to abstain from any vote because of all my allegiances. My son's a town judge, I was. His wife's the deputy town clerk.
Things evolve, so maybe the first conversation I had with them in December is different than the conversation we're having this December.
Yeah, I'm just,
I try to simplify this. If there was adequate water there right now, there would not be the number of low pressure things that go into the Aurelius Fire Department. There is obviously a problem right now without the addition of adequate pressure all the time. Is that not right?
I can't speak to that.
I don't know anything about the fire department. I have no idea.
Oh, Brian Dawes.
Well, that's what we
told
yeah.
us.
We were told. We were told that by the at the meeting where we approved this project out at the milk plant 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Three months ago.
October.
It was in October, but we address the water thing, and we unanimously passed a resolution that we would support putting an additional water line in.
Mhm.
And I don't blame Greg at all for not wanting to vote on it with his connection with the town, but I think we have an obligation to put that water line in, and if we're gonna have that water line in time for a July or August use, we have to do it. We have to pass the resolution to do. I talked to our engineer today on the phone, and he has to be authorized to do the work on that Wednesday, and we need to decide precisely how we're going to do it so that the IDA is not subject to it costing them anything to do it, and the Water and Sewer Authority. And I don't know if Tim got back to you today or not, or if he's gonna do it by Wednesday, but he's gonna have a proposal. But we need to, if we still feel that that's the right thing to do, we need to go ahead with the proposal for the IDA to put the water line.
So what would happen, I mean, what's the, let's say it just stays with the town who's charging still exorbitant rates. And potentially, let's say has a problem with the peak, so we have to invest another 500,000 gallon tanks of reserve water just to make sure we have it during the peaks. And we'll have to talk to them about that. I don't think we.
But the city sets the rates.
Understand, but town
No,
is the
no.
one that charge, no, they charge us the rates.
Cause the town sets the rate on top of the city.
But the city sets the rate to the town.
Yeah, but the town sets their own rate.
Right. But what's driven is the increases that the city is pushed down the throat of the town.
No, that's not the reason it went up. Ed-
Oh, yeah, it is.
No, Ed told me the reason it went up is because our pilot was up and
Right, but
you always knew.
right,
it.
but it's just, they have to pay the city.
No, he said we lost money, we're now gonna raise all your prices. That's what he told me.
What happened is Aurelius had an agreement with the city. And then the city raised the rates and Aurelius sued them. And Aurelius won. And then when that agreement ran out, the city hammered Aurelius. And that's why part of the reason the rates are so high in Aurelius, because the city jacked the rate up to the wheeling fee to Aurelius.
No, I didn't know that
You
part.
know, yeah,
Ed-
there's always a history to the history.
Well, Ray, I've
I'm
got
learning the history right now.
as a water person, I have to tell you, in the March 2022 town board minutes, they have a 70% water loss. That's not helping their rates either. The town's done kind of a slipshod job at
Yeah,
keeping
that
their
water
costs
line,
under.
that water line along 5 and 20 keeps breaking.
And that's the one that's feeding the milk plant, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's another
Right there
concern.
by the lumberyard there, Erie Material.
Yeah, he basically said we're raising the rate because pilot's no longer, and you knew that. So we have the right to raise it and we're gonna charge you the same as residential.
Okay, what do we want to do?
Well.
We beat it up pretty good, so
Yeah, I think,
I just,
no,
I don't, these guys are gonna be in a position where they're gonna have to eat out of that dish again with the town. So before we leap into this. And he comes back and says, we're gonna expand, but the town's shoving it down our throat. I'm just being cautious to you that
No, I know, we gotta go in there and talk about that,
there's some,
which we were cautious about it before because trying to figure out how to build a building.
and I've never voted against the milk plant ever, you know that. So I'm not against the milk plant, I just. There's a couple of them on that town board are. Carry grudge.
yeah, and that's, and I have the same concern that. You know, we don't wanna hurt the town.
Yeah, well, we don't want to hurt the milk plant or the town.
Right, right. So that's,
I guess the question is, why wouldn't they be open to servicing the current plan and knowing they might have trouble with the next one, especially if we go into it? Why would they have trouble with that when they told us to go look for other options last time?
When I got State Police Bird out there. they've always hated the state police barracks being there. And they're a free police service right in the middle of your town. So you tell me what I think people do things. And Herbitide, I was instrumental in keeping that state police barracks there, 100%. They've never got along with the troopers ever since.
So they fought with them they fought with the milk plant all the time.
All the time.
The sewer project.
The sewer project.
Problems that they had, they robbed the milk plant, they made them pay for all of their mistakes in the whole sewer system.
Yep. So
And-
that, I'm just,
But
that's here nor there.
yes, that's neither here nor there, but if they're gonna get the water to them that I think that they need by August,
Yes, right
we need to do it now. And it has to start with a resolution from this board to approve putting a water line into the milk plant.
We already passed that.
Sorry, Lake, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
Sorry about being late. I apologize. I spoke with counsel to CMI this morning, Jared Lusk at Nixon. He updated me on their end and reiterated their need for water quickly. Carl, Andy, Rick, and I have been trying to get and Mike trying to get a call scheduled, and part of the frustration, it's on my part not getting that scheduled. But after talking with CMI's counsel and taking a look at the Water and Sewer Authority statute, it seems to me that the IDA is the right entity to put the water line in. But before you take any official action, we really need to game out the entire process, including what real estate interests are needed. We have an easement that we're talking with BOCES about that's obviously needed to get from West Genesee up into the park. But the other real estate interests, how would the IDA put in a water line along Genesee Street? And where would an easement come from? And from who? Do we have?
Excuse me, the easement for the Genesee Street portion would be on the state right of way.
So that would be DOT?
Yes. And we're halfway there now with a previous project we've been working on. And we've used the DOT right away, Justin.
Okay. So we don't need the town in any way, shape, or form to run pipe if the IDA is running pipe. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And once we get pipe all the way, does this go to like a city manhole or a city main down towards Drive, or how, like where would it connect?
At the eastern end of this, the Kewett County Water and Sewer Authority is in the process of installing a new meter pit to reconnect our new 12-inch main that this line would be hooked to also. So we would purchase, the Kewett County Water and Sewer Authority would purchase water from the city of Auburn at the city line.
Okay. But that water is going to be feeding an Aurelius Industrial Park. So
Yes.
what I got here is the IDA can buy the water and just get out of the way and hand the bill over to the milk plant. Or the milk plant can just have a direct water purchase agreement and lease our line to put it through. There's ways to get there as long as the city's willing to deliver a bulk rate that CMI is willing to pay for. I think we can get there, and the IDA could do that independently from a construction perspective. And I confirmed this morning, this is probably the most important point. CMI is willing to cash flow the construction, in a way that makes sense. They would prepay their capital charges for 20 years or whatever it is. The IDA could theoretically, quote unquote, borrow money. But that would be complex. I mean, think about what we had with CCDC. That got kind of complex on basically a private loan from another organization. We can come up with ways where we bond it or do something that for $1 million project, it would be a lot of work and a lot of heavy lifting just to get to an end need of capital. I'm understanding this, and maybe I'm wrong. Is this about $1 million to put into the ground in terms of CapEx? Is that the amount, or do we have a sense of it?
That's a good number to work with presently. Hopefully we'll do a little better, but what I anticipate is about $1 million project from where the Cuba County Water and Sewer Authority water main ends into the milk plant.
Okay. So if you know, I made the joke this morning with Jared. I'm like, you got an $180 million project underway at the milk plant. It's probably got a 5% contingency, so you know, $9 million. The joke is, and you know, it's a lot of money, but the joke is, you know, if CMI has that money laying around with freed up contingency, we could utilize their capital to fund a public project, the IDA project. We have the industrial park as an anchor project of your own. You've got several projects in there, the first phase of CMI, current phase of CMI, current Grober, probably another Grober coming. So the IDA, it happens everywhere. IDAs build sewer lines, water lines. You've already built 2 sewer lines, or well, you built one and you're building another. The IDA could put pipe in the ground using CMI's money, give them a credit for capital charges for, you know, 20 years or whatever the number is, and then just have them either directly buy water from the city of Auburn or have a contract with the IDA and the city, and that's fine too, where we would just pass it along.
Justin, wait a minute. You can't cut the water authority out. The water authority's got to eat too. We've got the 12-inch main that we have to be reimbursed for, so the water authority still plays into the rate.
I hear you. We figure that out, and but the plan would be to have sit with a straight face and say the Water and Sewer Authority is not selling water in Aurelius. That's where the law, curtails your ability. Even if you're in the mix somewhere here, they could make the argument the town has got themselves exercised. They could make the argument that you're going around or doing something that your statute prohibits you from doing. What I can see my way around is the Water and Sewer Authority authorizing the engagement of MRB. But when that contract is signed, it's signed by the IDA and the Water and Sewer Authority. The joke being that the Water and Sewer Authority is going to pay the engineering bills. Plans are delivered. The IDA goes out to bid for a water line project after it has DOT and BOCES easements in its hands, builds it, and then we hook into your main and sign an O&M agreement with the Water and Sewer Authority, bake in some ancillary capital charges and use you for maybe a billing administrator. The Water and Sewer Authority can still get a relation project, but you're not selling any water.
And actually, Justin, to your point, to keep it clean, the IDA or CMI, preferably the IDA could pay a wheeling fee to the water authority for that first piece of pipe that the IDA would need to use that the authority already has installed to get to the milk plant. So to your point, you're on the mark.
But Justin, did you say it was permissible for the IDA and the Water and Sewer Authority to jointly sign the contract with the engineering firm?
Yeah, the idea there is that the Water and Sewer Authority can't necessarily make a gift to the IDA of a pre-baked engineering set of plans and drawings and surveys and all that stuff, but we can joint procure services. So that joint procurement would involve the Water and Sewer Authority probably burning down most of that Northern Borders grant. You guys got $750,000 for this. The Water and Sewer Authority did, I think, from Northern Borders.
We'll never get it though.
Water and Sewer spend it this project, but you have the issue of, well, darn, we're not supposed to do this project. But I think the Water and Sewer Authority can still think about it, can engineer something, it can design something and deliver whatever is necessary to get to a construction set of drawings. And then it kind of steps back and waits for O&M to occur. And maybe a wheeling charge, the IDA passes along to CMI for, the first half mile of pipe or wherever we're getting to a metered pit. I think there's a way to do that and utilize the Northern Borders money in a way that doesn't give the town or anybody else the ability to point to, the water authority exceeding its ability to do a project. Or maybe me to pay for that 12. So I just so far, but
Justin, there seems to, I talked with Tim quite a long while this morning. And if we're going to get that in shape to use in the July, August timeframe, which the milk plant thinks we need to do, we need to hire that engineering firm at our meeting on Wednesday. Can you and Tim and Rick put together a proposal that will be legal and satisfactory by Wednesday if we approve our part in it today?
well, the primary engagement would be the Water and Sewer Authority. Has MRB presented the Water and Sewer Authority with a form of contract yet that the Water and Sewer Authority will approve?
Yes, I'll send it to you, Justin.
Okay. I imagine it doesn't need much punching up. The IDA would just become a party to it without recourse for payment. That's fine. And to the extent that the IDA wants to speak to authorizing signing that at your annual meeting, we can attend to that and get the contract in place before the end of the year, if that's the goal.
That's tomorrow,
Oh, that's right. Tomorrow.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, that Tim's proposal for engineering services for the extension into CMI, what we would really need to do basically is just add the IDA to the title page.
Yeah, well, I'll send this to Justin when I get back to the
Okay.
office and, Justin and I can reach out to
Cool.
Tim if any changes are needed.
Okay,
Okay.
You can feel comfortable coming up with something that we feel comfortable voting on today, or we're going to put that off until tomorrow, Rick?
Well, let's do, if it's okay, let's do it tomorrow, so Justin can take a look at this,
That's,
I
I want all of us to know what we're doing.
and I can send this to the board too, just,
Well,
it's a proposal.
in agreement, do we need a motion or are we just gonna delay till tomorrow?
Somebody needs to tell us.
But I'm here,
That's why we have.
tomorrow, you gotta have the agreement.
Well, that's just for engineering services.
Yeah. And Justin's saying he wants the IDA down as just signing it without recourse to payment, so we'll modify it, we'll get it to everybody, Tim will be available.
But
You call him.
but it sounds like,
All day,
Justin,
yeah, that's why I didn't call you back, because I knew I had a busy day today.
but it sounds like Justin and Rick have a good path forward. Where the IDA is capable of selling water to the industrial park, not just CMI. If I heard you correctly, Justin, you're also talking about the expansion, the Decavant and other places. So sounds like the Rick and Justin have come up with a plan forward where water could be extended into the industrial park. The IDA could facilitate doing the work. The water authority would take over the O&M. The water authority would be made whole for the portion of pipe we put in originally through some sort of wheeling agreement. And CMI would pretty much fund the line that would be needed to go from where the water authority leaves off the experimental road into the industrial park. I guess the only question I would have is, as you have different users, that would have to be prorated accordingly, but that's a detail that can be easily ironed out.
And not to argue with you, but there should not be much of a wheeling field fee on that original line, because that original line had to be put in anyway to service all of the lines going south of West Genesee Street.
Well, Carl could get creative with his own fee schedule, so.
I'm not trying to pick, but okay, I should not have.
I think one thing that we gotta discuss with the working group, Justin and I, and the working group is, do we look at putting in some type of meter when this water line branches off?
Well, but we're getting way into the weeds. This meeting wasn't called to be a water and sewer meeting.
No. Okay, are you and Justin,
We'll take care of it.
and we'll have something to approve?
Before you break bread tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Something to approve.
And we still need to figure out a way to make sure really is full.
It would be nice if Aurelius would decide they would like to work with us instead of fighting with us.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
Jared, do you have any? Jared Lusk is on the call. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry for not getting you in sooner. I guess I didn't. I thought maybe you could go through Zoom, but I realized it was my Teams meeting that I had on, that you were linking in, so. Basically, Justin just got through talking about how we would fund a line. That was new, and I just took that, but that's another story. It's good to know.
Getting up cheaper because you were here, than if you weren't here.
Well, I think I mean, what he's proposing, not to get into the weeds, but, if we bond it as the IDA, we gotta charge it back to the user.
Right, that's fine.
So, and then in a sense, if you're doing it, it's
Right.
just
It
either
becomes part of our
either
capital.
way you're paying, but I'll leave the details to Justin, but yeah, I know exactly what
It
he's.
gets
talking about.
amortized over time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's in the rate.
It would be built into the rate, yes, exactly.
Yeah, we
If
expect that.
If we bond it, it would be built into the rate.
Right.
So I think that, we're just trying to think of ways to help you.
No, I understand.
So.
And Jared, so the town of Aurelius, when, I don't remember, were you there when Ed Ives said something about you guys should just go out and find your own if you don't like the rates? I don't know if you were there, but I know.
I wasn't at that meeting. I wasn't at that meeting.
Yeah. So do you think we need to go back into the town of Aurelius and let them know that, first of all, we are looking at expansion potentially pretty fast. And it sounds like other places are looking for expansion on the same site. And if that's the case, are they able to handle anything above and beyond? Should we do that as part of this process?
Are you asking me my opinion on that?
Yeah,
I would try to get your ducks in a row with what the plan is and how much it costs and what you need for the current site and the peaking and that we talked about. I think that's my goal. And then, if you have an expansion, what you need, but I try to get all that information together before we went back and spoke to the town.
okay, so the peaks and all those kinds of things, you have that, right? So we do have that. We can get that over to you. And the parts where we think the peaks will be a problem.
Correct. But, we do have the building permit. I'm worried that before we get a certificate of occupancy, if we claim that we have trouble with water, they try to hold up our CFO as leverage.
Right. Okay,
So in other words, till we're up and operating, I don't know whether we can operate without city water yet, whether there's sufficient capacity to get us started. And then again, we just got to talk through all that.
okay, I know
Just
we have talked about if we're worried, we have to add some capital into our plan, right?
Well, that's a conversation you guys.
We can have that.
Yeah. Well,
So where are we for tomorrow?
We'll let you know.
You'll let us know. Okay. Let us know.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
That study that you have will be very important to get to.
I think sure.
Am I off the hook also?